In every one of these orders of mammals that you see right here, that's either in the bright yellow over there, which are the deep hibernators, the insectivores, the rodents and the bats, or on the gold side here, these guys, monotremes, carnivores, even a primate, that's a fat-tailed lemur, just like us, a primate, hibernate. There's only 2 orders of mammals that don't hibernate. The ungulates, which are your hoofed mammals, and your lagomorphs, your rabbits and hares. Otherwise, there's at least 1 hibernating species in all these orders of mammals, so it's common. The premise is that hibernation is controlled by the differential expression of genes. These same genes are found in all mammals, including humans. We've tested this premise, we've done the experiments, it is true. There's not a single gene that the hibernator has that we don't have. It's just that the hibernators can turn them on, these genes on and off at unique times of the year. And because they can turn them on and off at unique times of the year in various tissues, turn a certain gene on in the brain, a certain gene on in the heart, that allows them to hibernate. We've lost that ability. But the hibernators can do it just fine. So there's this biochemical factory called the hibernating ground squirrel that we can learn things from and apply these hibernation strategies to things like protecting from ischemia. Ischemia, that's lack of blood flow, not good oxygen. Avoiding reperfusion injuries. Reperfusion, that's when the blood resumes. That can cause damage too. Generates all sorts of reactive oxygen species. The heart, how the heart can work better, and surviving blood loss. Because these guys have such low blood flow, if you remove the blood from them, it's amazing how well they can survive. Because their bodies have been conditioned to survive without blood flow. And it was that right there that had the Pentagon contact us. Because unfortunately, that is an all too familiar scene in the world today. We are fighting 2 wars. The armed conflicts cause all sorts of casualties. And the #1 cause of death, going back to the Civil War, going back to the US Civil War, 150 years ago, has been blood loss. That if you could get to the person fast enough, if you could give them a transfusion, they would have survived. But because in a scenario like this, some small village in Iraq, some remote mountaintop in Afghanistan, you can't get to the soldier in time, and so they die. Wouldn't it be great if they could survive a period of time without blood, like a hibernator? So what we did, we took an animal that doesn't know how to hibernate. Not a human, but a white rat. White rats don't know how to hibernate. They're not like ground squirrels. They have to be fed and taken care of and kept warm. And so we took these guys, and we removed 60% of their blood. If you remove 60% of their blood, they're dead in about 7 minutes. 60% of their blood, gone. They would die instantly. But if you apply some hibernation strategies, you can extend that time. So for an average rat, 60% of the blood, well, that's like we're removing, the total amount of blood is like 18 mils. You remove 60% of it, you're going to be taking out 11 mils. We were able to develop a fluid replacement based on hibernation biochemistry, where only a tiny amount was replaced. See that little yellow line? That's all that was replaced. This much was taken out, this much was replaced. And the reason it was small like that is because that's what the Army wanted. The Army was funding the study, and they wanted something that was small, portable, something the soldier could carry on their body, something a medic could easily transport, because you can't transport liters of whole blood or gallons and gallons of resuscitation fluid. It had to be small and portable. And so that's why that volume is so tiny there. And when we did that, we were able to buy time for those rats. Those rats that had 60% of their blood taken out of them, they still died. But instead of dying in 5 minutes, they died in 3 hours. Well, 3 hours is enough time to get a soldier on a chopper. 3 hours is enough time to get someone in an ambulance. 3 hours is enough time to get them back to the hospital to get a transfusion. And what you've done is you've extended this window of time, this window that's called the golden hour. Because the golden hour is that amount of time, and it's not really an hour, it's more like the golden 20 minutes, where you still can revive someone, if you can get blood to them, if you can get oxygen going, if you can actually make sure that their tissues are functioning. And so what it did, it bought time. I know it's probably silly for me to show these things, right? I just want to show you, these are the magic components that are in it. One is beta-hydroxybutyrate, that's a fuel source. instead of glucose or sugar, which generates lactic acid. You don't want that. Hibernators use BHB. Hibernators use melatonin as an antioxidant. You may be familiar with this. I mean, you can buy it in grocery stores. It's thought to be like more of a sleep aid, helps you synchronize day-night. But the hibernators use it as an antioxidant. Combined in the right concentrations, it's this life-saving thing that really has extended the golden hour, has caused these animals to live longer than they would have. Well, it was funded by the military, but here in the civilian world, this kind of stuff happens all the time too. And the result of this is blood loss. And of course, we also have our violence, our knifings, and our shootings. We have traumatic injuries all the time. And so, this is a therapy that has been developed based on the biochemistry of these pitiful Minnesota creatures that most people see as a pest. And so now we've taken it from the crash military setting, because we have to get in the hands of the soldiers as soon as possible. We've gone to the next stage, and we've used Greg Bielman here. Greg Bielman's a collaborator. He's in the Twin Cities campus. Now there he is. He's also a U.S. colonel, a surgery guy, okay, a combat surgeon. There he is in Iraq. It's 120 degrees, and he has been taking our therapy now and doing experiments with it in pigs, because pigs are that next large animal that you have to do before you go on to people. And so he's been doing these experiments in pigs. Again, the idea here is that you buy time for the critically wounded soldier. And so far, so good. That's a pig on the table there. Can you see the hooves? Right there? So that's a pig. Take 60% of the blood out of the pig. You do that, pig's gone in about 10 minutes. You infuse it with the hibernation solution. Pig lives for about 2 hours. Again, just a tiny bit of this stuff goes a long way. So the bottom line of my talk is the following. Whether it's a cockroach, whether it's an ant, whether it's an oak tree or the golden gopher, you never know what could be the result of the biochemistry of those animals. Because again, life has been on the planet for 3.5 billion years. And the chemistry, where you take all that stuff up there and mix it all together, can be unmatched by anything that we can produce synthetically in our chemical factories. And every time an extinction event takes place, you've lost that for good. And so even though it's now in clinical trials and we've applied for FDA approval, the whole thing is to keep people alive long enough to extend that golden hour so that you essentially have time to get them back to a hospital. But none of it would be possible if it wasn't for this guy right here, because that's where all those secrets came from. It came from the hibernating animal and how it adapts to living in the winter in Minnesota. Thank you.